Hello and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show.
Welcome to one of the internet's best podcasts, where we dive deep into the lives of the extraordinary and fascinating people who leave an indelible mark on our world. Join us as we explore their captivating stories, remarkable achievements, and unique perspectives that shape history and inspire generations. Get ready to embark on a journey through the lives of inspiring people unlike any other.
Hello and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show. Great to have you back, and I'm very excited about today's show. We'll tell you about it in 1 second. But before I do that, I would like to remind my viewers and my listeners that this show is really predicated on sponsorships and advertising. And there's your sponsorship connects your brand with our engaged, value-driven audience and ensures we can continue creating the high-quality content of that our viewers and listeners rely upon. We offer tailored sponsorship packages, including ad placement, sponsored segments, and social media mentions. Your support ensures that we can keep sharing stories that celebrate and strengthen our vibrant community, including our Jewish community, and learn more all about ourselves, about our neighbors. So please be in touch with me at avrum.rosensweig@gmail.com, and we can tailor a sponsorship package for you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really excited to have with me a dear friend, someone I have known since my days at York University way back in 1983. Welcome, Guidy Mamann. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me again, Avrum. Thank you. It's been a couple years since we've done this, right? It's been a few years.
Yeah, we have. We covered pretty much all of your background, which is really fascinating. I have a lot of Moroccan friends, Sephardic friends, and they're very, very rich culture and beautiful people. So one can find it just by simply doing a Google search on Avrum Rosensweig and Guidy Mamann. Today, we're talking about something a little bit different. If you live in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, or just if you're on the news, you are going to know about a pro-Israel rally that happens every single Sunday at 11, sometimes a little bit earlier, starting a little bit later, and runs until about 2 o'clock or 2:30. This is the brainchild of my dear friend, Guidy Mamann. This past Sunday was the 63rd week that this pro-Israel rally was running. Now, I've gone down there a couple of times, not as many as I should, and certainly Guidy has been encouraging me to come down more often. But I will tell you one thing: I live meters away.
Sorry, Avrum. Sorry, Avrum.
Yeah.
I'm apologizing right now.
So I want you to know that my Sunday mornings are basically. It's your voice is in my head.
Sorry, Avrum. There are some victims.
Honk.
Honk if you love Israel, honk if you love peace, right?
Guidy, I was thinking to myself, these guys drive me freaking nuts, man. That's when I do my podcast on Sunday. And then Guidy, with all from my heart, this is what I was thinking. I was saying, like, it's phenomenal what you do. And I'm thinking to myself, your wife must say to you, Guidy, come on, we need to go away for a weekend or a few days, and you've been doing this for 63 weeks. Now, I know there were a couple weekends where I did not hear your voice. So where were you?
Well, it's always Israel. It's almost always Israel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We have now 2 daughters living in Israel. So whenever we can get out there, we first of all, we love going to Israel anyways, but whenever we can, we go. And so if you don't hear my voice, chances are I'm probably there.
What was it? What was it like for you to be away from the rally when you were in Israel?
Oh boy! When I was at the rally, that's when we had the Palestinian protesters come for the first time. So normally I would be dealing with all of that stuff and all the logistics. So I did a lot of that. I was on the phone constantly with the police. I was on the phone with our head of security, with our sound people, with everybody who's involved, because I've babied this thing for over a year at that point, and I just didn't want everything to just go blow up into the sky in a big ball of flames. The police have been amazing, But there's always somebody out there on the other side and on our side who can sabotage the whole thing. We try to keep a very tight leash on everybody, and we have extensive communication equipment within our group. We have over 21 walkie-talkies within our group, and we're always communicating, but you never know. And so when I was away in Israel, I was, to be honest with you, panicking a little bit.
Mm-hmm. What was your wife's response to this whole thing?
Well, I guess her response is more or less like mine. I never in my life thought you could persuade me that one day I would be doing 63 rallies in a row, right? That's a big number. But Avram, you got to understand the context that we were in. Israel has never had a war that lasted more than a few weeks, right? And we didn't really set out to do a marathon. We just set out to support our soldiers. But once we started supporting our soldiers, and more people started to just grab onto this, and people prayed for our hostages, it was kind of hard to just walk away and say, okay, that's enough, guys. I think we've shown enough compassion. I think we've shown enough support. And it just never felt right to stop. And the crazy thing about it, you think after 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 weeks, people say, you know what, I've had enough rallying. I think I've been there, done that. No, they continue to come in greater numbers. And they're still going into their pockets and taking out a $5 bill, a $20 bill, a $100 bill, and saying, do something with this money, because they see that we're actually doing stuff, that we're actually using the money in a very, in a very worthwhile way. And so it's kind of hard to get out of it. I'll be honest with you. It's hard to see where this is all going to end. I just pray to God that, and I know as a fact that it has had a tremendous impact on our community. And the most special thing for me is, a lot of people don't know this, but we ask our participants to come up to the microphone if they have someone in harm's way, whether they're in Lebanon or whether they're in Gaza or whether in the West Bank, or they're on the Mediterranean in one of our Navy vessels. And we tell them, come on up with their Hebrew name, and we'll make a bracha for them on video. And we'll make a bracha for their officers and their commanders and their leadership and their fellow soldiers. And we send it to them. We send it to them by email. And they can't believe it. They can't believe that there's a group of people standing in Canada in the middle of winter, in the pouring rain and this ice and the snow, making a bracha for their child in Gaza. They can't believe it. And there, not too many weeks ago, just a few weeks ago, we were doing that. But I didn't know that at the same time that I was recording this video, that the parents were sitting in the living room and watching this live on another camera. Mm-hmm. And when they turned the camera to show me, I mean, there were tears in their eyes. Or they would keep calling people, look, in Canada, look what they're doing for us in Canada. They're doing this every week. I could understand in Hebrew. And that made me feel amazing that I could actually see the connection, not just delayed, record and then send, and who knows what happens to it. But at that time, at that moment in real time. And it's hard to walk away from that, Avrum. I'm telling you, it's hard to walk away from it.
I asked you a little while ago if this is the greatest thing that you've done in your life, and you said, yeah, apart from my kids.
I think so, Avrum. I'm trying to think of some harebrained idea I've ever had. And I've had lots of them. You know that, right, Avrum?
I do know that, yes.
I've had a lot of them. One that really kind of stuck to me, really sort of hit me in my kishkas. You have to understand something. It goes way beyond the soldiers and the hostages. Our community has so many divisions. There's religious, not so religious. There's Sephardic. There's Ashkenaz. There's conservative. There's liberal. There's this and there's that. And we divide and we divide and we divide. And then we stay in our little zones. But this thing has brought the most interesting people together you cannot imagine. You cannot imagine. I mean, a few weeks ago, I turned to one of my organizers and I said, we just had a birthday cake for a transgender Jew at our rally. where Rabbi Zaltzman is dancing around with about a dozen bookers, where we have people from the right, people from the left, people putting tefillin, people who are like go go go, almost crazy Zionists, to people who are a little bit less so. And I thought to myself, when did you ever see a collection of people
Yeah, good point.
standing on a patch of grass for over a year and connected by what? Connected by pride in their Judaism, love of Israel, and a need to be heard in this crazy, crazy post-October 7th hate-filled world. And they keep coming. And even if I told them to go away, I think they'd still come even if I walked away. I'll be honest. It's a crazy dynamic.
Guidy, I want to tell you something which I think you're going to find extremely special. I know there's a narrative out there that this is the longest rally ever in the history of humankind. Now listen to this. The duration of the Hong Kong protests for the democracy, reform, and civil rights in the area ran for 6 months, June 2019 to January 2020. The 2011 Egyptian Revolution ran for 18 days, and that was January 25th to February 11th, 2011. The Tiananmen Square protest, you'll remember that. We probably just graduated university at that time. Ran for 7 weeks, Guidy, April 15th till June 4th, 1989. I'll just tell you a couple more. The anti-Vietnam War protests, the big ones, those ran for several months in 2005, 2006, but not an entire year. And finally, the protests in Chile ran from October 2019 to March 20th. And those were all for economic reforms and so on. So your pro-Israel rally, our pro-Israel rally, if you will, because I know it's inclusive, it seems like it's the longest one that's ever happened.
Somebody said this to me about into week 40. I think this is one of the longest rallies ever in the whole world. I said, well, that's a bit of an exaggeration because obviously I didn't have my Google or my Chat GPT handy. But now I'm starting to think about it, and it's actually resonating. I think it may very well be true that we're pretty, we've been around. I guess they make us pretty tough and hardy in Downsview. Who knew?
Exactly. Who knew? It's interesting that you're saying that, because I find that these crossroads where I live, where Sheppard and Bathurst, somewhat innocuous. It's a very, very safe area. Nothing really happens here.
Pretty boring. It's not Times Square, right?
It ain't Times Square. No,
it ain't Times Square, right?
Yeah, and it's phenomenal, Guidy, when you're there at the protest with your dozens and dozens and dozens of people, women holding babies. I see dogs there all the time.
All the time. We have a page called Puppies for Rally, Puppies for Israel. And every time there's a dog that comes out to the rally with a little Israeli flag on their coat or on their back or something, we post them onto Puppies for Israel.
Fantastic, man. Have you heard from Israeli leadership at all?
Sure. I don't know if you know, this past week, Esther and I
tell us who Esther is.
Oh boy. Esther Bakinka is just another one of us sort of crazy community organizers who just do the craziest things to bring attention to a good cause for our community and our allies. Or Esther and I have been friends for maybe 20, 25 years. And we always help each other out. And do you want me to tell you how this started with
Sure,
Esther?
Yeah, let us know.
I'll tell you. Okay, so a local rabbi called me. God bless him, Rabbi Pinto. He runs the kollel on, just across from York Downs. And he called me. He said, "Listen, Guidy, can you come tomorrow for minyan in the morning? We don't have enough people." I said, "Yeah, sure, Rabbi. 7:00. I'll be there." And so I was there. And he says, "And if you have another person, let me know. Let me know." I said, "Okay, I'll get you another person." I called my buddy Charles. Charles never says no to a minyan. If he's going to be the 10th, he'll be there 100%. And I knew I knew I can get him to go. So the two of us go. And as I was walking out to shul that morning, I don't know if you remember, Avram, that morning was the global day of jihad, the global day of rage that Hamas announced. It was just 6 days after. And I don't know if you remember the space that we were occupying on that Friday. We didn't know how many had been taken to Gaza, how many hostages were taken. We didn't know how many people were killed. We had no idea how many terrorists were still in the country. We had no idea if you could still go to Beersheba without chances of being hijacked and killed, right? And we didn't know if Hezbollah was going to attack. It was a terrifying time. And so when Hamas announced the Day of Rage, our leadership said, you know what, don't send your kids to school, don't wear a kippah, don't wear a Magen David, right? Don't do this, right? Maybe you should consider taking your mezuzahs down. And the whole place was just crazy. It was just a weird space. And I remember that morning as I was walking out to go to shul, I had left a bag in front of my house with a Canadian flag and an Israeli flag. And I swore to myself, if I see anybody running around, putting down Israel, putting down our community, I'm going to stand there and wave the flag and do blah, 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 and make some noise. So I took the bag with me to shul. And as we were taking off our tefillin at 7:45 in the morning, I text my buddy at about 7:45. I said, hey, you know what? Right after services, why don't we go to the corner of Bathurst and Sheppard and wave our flag a little bit? Just let people know that, we're not afraid to wave an Israeli flag. And I don't think this is, the proper kind of leadership that we need, telling people to hide in their basements, not to go out. I don't think it's a good idea. So we went. And I figured, it's pretty lame. Me and Charles, just standing around in a corner waving a couple of flags. So I quickly texted Esther and I said, hey, Esther, you want to meet us at Bathurst and Sheppard? She goes, when? I go, like 10 minutes. She goes, great.
Wow. Yeah, come down.
She comes right down from her apartment on Canyon. She comes right down. And I swear to God, Avram, I swear to you, by the time we got from York Downs to Sheppard, to Sheppard, she was already standing there at the TD Bank with an Azerbaijani flag. That's my kind of woman, right?
That's a great story, man.
So now the three of us are looking at each other. Okay, let's just wave some flags and look stupid, right? And then something happened. A lot of people honked. They were, yeah, way to go, yeah. Fly the flag on the Day of Rage, the Hamas Day of Rage. But when people came to the stop sign, to the red light, and I could peek into their car, I could see people crying. They were crying when they saw us. There was one woman who was just looking stoically like this in front of her. She didn't want to lock eyes with me. I could tell because she was like really like, I think right on the verge of like some sort of, breakdown. And she turns to me and she starts whispering something like, thank you. But I can see how distraught she was. I'm never going to forget that face of her. I'm telling you. I go, put your window down. So she's looking at me. What? She puts her window down and I point to her. I said, don't worry, everything will be okay. Don't worry, everything is going to be okay. And then the tears just like, boom. So I go back to Charles and Esther. I said, holy moly, there's a lot of pain and fear out there, brother. We got to come back on Sunday. Like, we can't just stop right now, like for half an hour. Like, I figured we'd go from 8 to 8:30 in the morning. It was a Friday. It was a business day, right? They said, okay, well, let's come back on Sunday. And that was the whole plan, just to come back on Sunday. And then somebody said, yeah, we're going to do this until this war is over. I said, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Until we get our hostages back. And so here we are 63 weeks later, coming on 64. So that's where we're at.
So just to follow up on the question that I asked about hearing from Israeli leaders, something happened this week. Perhaps I didn't hear about it.
Oh, you're right. I forgot all about it. So what happened? They invited Esther and I to come to the Israeli consulate. The Israeli consulate invited us to award us a community award as modern day Maccabees. And they gave us a beautiful reception. The Premier Ford was there, and Solicitor General Kersner was there, and half the Ontario cabinet was there. All kinds of dignitaries. Our good friend Senator Jerry Grafstein was there. There's a lot of good people that were there. I was so impressed. And they had billed it as, Guidy, we're inviting you to the Hanukkah party. I said, okay, great. I can go for some Hamantations or something like that.
Yeah, we all can.
Yeah, and then they send me this thing, this whole form, your bio. I said, exactly what's going on at this thing? You're sending me a form with all this. And they said, we actually want to give you an award for this thing. And that's what happened. So yeah, I'll tell you something. If I'm going to accept an award from anybody, brother, I'm going to tell you something. Coming from the people of Israel, the representatives of the people of Israel, means more to me than anything else. They could have given me an award from I don't care who, but the government of Israel, the official representative of the Israeli people, meant the world to me. Absolutely the world to me.
Have you received any other accolades or communications from Israel?
Sure, actually. So before knowing about this Hanukkah party, I had accepted an invitation to meet with some heads of the World Zionist Organization at 7:00. And this Hanukkah party is at 5:30 downtown at the Israeli consulate. So I figured, I'm going to have a couple of Hamantations and I'm going to bolt up to Thornhill. An hour's more than enough. And then I find out that, holy cow, this is like a full-blown award ceremony at 5:30 at the consulate. And so I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. But the guys from the WZO were very understanding. I was an hour late for that. So the second I grabbed my award, I walked off the stage. I went right to the car and bolted up to Thornhill. So that's why you'll see a lot of the pictures of the whole group that received awards. I wasn't included because I just sort of bolted out. I didn't want to disappoint the other guys. So that's how it worked out.
Guidy, you've been involved in a number of different organizations in Toronto and across Canada. One of them is the synagogue on Sheppard, which you've been going for years. That's Tiferet Synagogue. Also, you're the president of the Toronto Zionist Council. So you've been exposed to a lot of Jews, a lot of different types of people, right? You get out there, you're very, very sociable in nature. Well, what I'm curious about is, tell us about 2 or 3 of the individuals who come out to the rally every Sunday. Maybe the quieter people, the humble people, but they're there. They're there to support Israel. They're there to support the Chayalim and the Chayalot. Who's there? Who's within that group?
Wow. The ones that stick out in my mind the most are the Chabadniks that come out, the rabbis that come out. At the beginning they came, there was, maybe they put tefillin for 2 people or 3 people, and there was one guy stayed there for 10 minutes and he left. 2-3 weeks ago, I think it was, you know how many tefillin we put on?
How much?
The rally, a 2-hour rally? 140.
Really?
140 tefillin. We have 3 rabbis who show up now.
That's a lot.
It's an industry. It's an industry, I'm telling you. And Avrum, I'll tell you why it's so impactful. You're going to say, well, the volunteers. I'll tell you why. Because the Chabadniks demonstrate how this community has come together. A lot of the guys who come are bikers, friends of mine who I ride my motorcycle with for years and years and years. Some of these guys are older than me. I'm 63. Some of them are in their late 60s, 70s, even 50s and all that. And some of these guys are not exactly the most orthodox people in the world. Tattoos on their necks and their arms and stuff like that. You don't get the impression that they're putting on tefillin every morning. And you're seeing people who have not put tefillin in decades, 30, 40, 50 years. And they're putting on tefillin for the first time in years. And not only do they do it when they're being nudged to do it, they're now doing it. They go to the rally. The rabbi, one of the 2 or 3 rabbis that comes, they go to them, put on the tefillin, and they do it. Because I tell them, I said, I don't know if you have to believe in the power of tefillin or anything like that. But you got to believe that you got to do everything you can for our soldiers. And if there's 1% chance that it's going to help, do it. That maybe Hashem is going to hear your prayer. And because of the merit of what you're doing, which you're not accustomed to doing, maybe God will reflect well on our soldiers and our hostages and the people of Israel. So that's why this Chabad group really shows me how Jews can work together and can unite in the most interesting and fabulous ways. The others are the guys who show up at my house at as early as 6:30 in the morning, and it's been earlier than that too. For the walkathon, we started at 4 a.m. for the walkathon. If you'll remember, the walkathon walked right
The
past
Walk for Israel. Yeah.
the Walk for Israel. So we started at 4 a.m. for that one because there was a lot of unknowns, a lot of variables for that one, and it was also very high risk. A lot of people, and we didn't control our environment. It was the Federation that was controlling. Their security people were, we're running the show for them, but it had a great impact on us because we're right in the middle of the thing. So those organizers, and you won't recognize their names. You probably won't know who they are. These are people who have found themselves at the rally. One of our hardcore ralliers, one of our organizing team, he told me the other day, in one of the most interesting and touching moments of 63 weeks, he said to me, "Guidy, I got to thank you." He says, "I work construction. I've been working in construction for over 30 years. And there's not that many Jewish people where I work." And he says, "And I've always kind of felt alone. I've always felt I was disconnected from my community. I didn't really belong here and I didn't belong there." And he says, "Now, I promise you, Avrum, it's a very emotional thing to say." He said, "I owe you my connection to the Jewish community." He says, like, he didn't know how he lost it or whatever, but that was tremendously impactful, and it represents quite a few people, because the people, Avram, you and I have been in the Jewish business for a long time, since you and I met in 82, 83, and these are people who've never been connected. Like, you and I have been doing this for 40 years. We've been very, very, very close to the action, but a lot of people have been completely disconnected. And so that was a very, very moving experience for me, to see a grown man my age tell me something like that. And then I think the third group, or the third type, are the kids.
I
So
was going to ask. Yes.
yeah, so let me tell you the story. The first couple of weeks, maybe the first couple of months, it was only the crazies like me who were standing out of Bathurst and Sheppard. It's we started October the 13th, and now it's December, and I'm looking at myself, how do we get out of this mess? So let's call it the first couple of weeks and a couple of months for just the crazies. The next few months, we didn't see great numbers increase. People were afraid to come out to Bathurst and Sheppard. They were afraid for their own personal security. And I think that lasted pretty well until the 6th, 7th month mark. And then somehow people just became more courageous. I guess they figured, well, we haven't been killed or anything about this in Sheppard for 6 or 7 months, so I think it's safe to come out now. And more people started to come out, and it seemed like it was easier to get people to come out. But I still didn't see kids, and people, "Oh, no, I'm not bringing my kids. I'm gonna come, but I'm not bringing my kids. There's no way I'm bringing my kids." But now we see lots of kids, and they love it. We have the little mini kid flags, we have medium-sized flags, and we have the full-blown flags. And I love it when the little kid wants the biggest flag, and the other kid, it's, "Oh, this is too big for me. I want a smaller flag." And seeing them come on up on the pickup truck, that we use as a stage, and to stand with us is great, because after all, Avram, you and I are in our 60s. Who cares what we want, what we think? It's the next generation that is the future of Israel. It's not you and me. It's our children and our grandchildren who are going to make or break that country, right? And
Exactly.
it's such a great pleasure to see the kids come out. And if there's one message I could ask you to put out there, is don't be afraid to bring your kids. They have to know what it is to be Jewish. They have to know what it is to be part of the support team for Israel. Because if you think you're safe, if you think you're in the clear, without Israel, you're nothing. You need a place to go if, God forbid, things turn south. And it's the only country we have, and it's the only country we're ever going to have. So, you have to support it with yourself, and your children.
Guidy, what fascinates me about the coordination of these rallies is that they're all inclusive. And what I mean by that is, there's an old adage that the Jews are persecuted, and we remember, and then we sit down and eat. Now, I've heard you on the megaphone saying, well, everybody, we got sandwiches here today. Come on out if you haven't had your coffee. Well, what really amazed me, at least for the moment, was that you were really well prepared. Not only did you have flags there, right? You have your megaphone so everybody can hear you, but you have food for people to eat.
Well, that's a bit of a misrep. That's not exactly.
Is that incorrect? Am I off on that?
Once in a while, I think it's 3-4 times we've ordered pizza because somebody came up to us and said, yeah, I want to do something. I want to do something great for all these people. Can I bring some pizzas? Next thing, 20 boxes of pizzas show up. Okay. But it ain't coming from my generosity, brother. That's for sure. We ain't got that kind of coin every week.
I love that.
But people bring stuff. They bring Starbucks. They bring Tim Hortons, and some of the local people, some of the, Surreal Sweets and a few others are sending us boxes of cookies and stuff like regular. So you might think, and bakeries are sending us, bagels and cream cheese and all kinds of stuff. We didn't ask for it. We're not like, if you come to the rally, you'll never hear us asking for money. We never do that. It's just not our thing. We don't want people to come and say, oh, they're not really here to support Israel. They're here to support some sort of cause. They're going to, just do something with the money. I don't know what. We're not doing that. You want to give. And, we don't really even have some bank account to put it in or anything like that. We just put it in our pocket and then use it for signs and for flags and for posters and for gear and for gas for the generators. We have 2 generators now. There's lots of places to spend the money.
Guidy, when I listen to the message that's coming out of the rally, the voices of the people, yours specifically, if you love peace, honk. If you love Israel, honk. If you love the IDF, honk. Now there's the guys on the other side of the street, and I can hear their message too. And their message is very often is Zionism is Nazism, right?
All Zionists are racist. Zionists are racist.
Like, honestly, no effect to the other guys, but their voices are not great. But I'm struck, and I've heard this from many people, that your group, our group, is a peaceful group. And the group on the other side, the message that's coming from them and some of the aesthetics, as an example, a few weeks ago, they brought out this small little chair, and the guy was sitting it representing Sinwar. It's just such a different flavor of protest.
Right. So here's a big question that you haven't asked me yet, which everybody asks me. And the big question is, what are you doing here? It's preaching to the converted. Why are you here in this neighborhood? Why don't you go to Mississauga and confront them in Mississauga or Brampton? Why are you here? I told you how this thing started. I didn't go to Bathurst and Sheppard to go educate some pro-Palestinian people and tell them that we're right and they're wrong. That's not how it started. To be honest with you, the honking wouldn't have made me come back the next, that Sunday. The fact that people were cheering me on with Charles and Esther wasn't enough. It was the people crying that brought me there. I said, this community needs to heal. Nothing good can come if we're sitting there and we're afraid to come out on the street in our own neighborhood. So this has nothing to do. I want to tell you something, Avrum. Let's be very clear. This has nothing to do with the Palestinians and their supporters. We have nothing to say to them. We're not here to convince them that that we're right and they're wrong. They believe it's their land. I believe it's our land. It's fine. I'm here to speak to our community. Right? Don't be afraid. No matter what happens, you only have each other. You have to support one another. You're black, you're white, you're religious, you're not. Who cares? We have a problem and we have to solve it. Right? And we are focused on our soldiers who, God help them, every single day, they have to go into some stupid tunnel and take a chance that they're going to lose their legs, lose their arms, lose their eyes, lose their lives. Right? That they should know that we support them. And the hostages, can you imagine being the parent of a hostage and you don't know where your kid is. You don't know if your kid is alive or not for a year. And then nobody seems to be with you. You're talking to the government, but they can't, they don't have answers. And they're and you can't allow them to lose hope. If they see a bunch of Canadians sitting there freezing their tuchuses off in minus 26 degrees in the winter, plus wind chill factor, right? Then they believe that we as a people continue to support each other and hold out hope. Otherwise, they lose hope. And when you lose hope, Avram, you got nothing left. So by seeing us every single week, God willing, these people will be able to hang on just a little bit longer. Just a little bit longer.
Have you had any problems out there?
Oh, yeah. We have problems. But we keep reminding people, and as the group has grown, I don't become the only voice of reason. All these other people around me become the voice of reason. And as soon as someone starts mouthing off, they say, listen, that's not what we're about.
Mhm.
The reason this rally is peaceful is because we're not biting. When people drive by and give us the finger and start swearing horrible things, let them go. Let him go. Just let him go. He's not our audience. He's just not our audience. Our audience are ourselves. If we don't heal our community, and if we don't strengthen our community,
Nice.
and we don't bring people out from the shadows and bring them together so that they can be a force, like your fingers, you put them together, you have a fist. You understand? Instead of just people like one here and one there. We don't have a choice. History is being made right now, Avram. And we better be together. That's all I can tell you.
Have you ever lost it yourself on anyone?
No, I'm about 20, 30 years past that. We've been doing this for a long time. I did all the Al-Quds days, and I've done all ever since Ernst Zundel. If I didn't lose it with Ernst Zundel, in the very beginning of my advocacy in 82, 83, I'm not going to lose it.
Yeah,
I get annoyed. I get annoyed, but you think I'm going to take the bait? I'm not going to take the bait. There's no chance of that. And they know that on the other side. They know me very well. And the police know. The first person to go out at the confrontation, if there's something brewing, is me. And I grab our guys and I say, you can't do that. If you're going to be in this business, you have to be very cognizant of the law. You can't do things that are going to frighten people, intimidate people. You can't be hateful. Once in a while maybe I stray a little bit. We have now not just the Palestinians across the street, the pro-Palestinians, but we have the Naturi Karta, and that makes people crazy. And once in a while, the crowd wants to let them know that we're not happy about their position on Judaism and Zionism and the state of the Jewish world. So maybe I take a couple of cheap shots at them, but
you might as well. I would do the same thing.
Yeah, once in a while, just you gotta. After all, we're all human, but there's no hate. There's no hate. Nothing like that. I don't hate. My
Guidy,
fellow.
on a personal level, you're a lawyer. You're very much involved in the community.
Sure.
Has this cost you anything personally?
Well, for sure it does, Avram. Nothing worthwhile doesn't have a cost. Having children has a cost, right? There's a cost to everything that's worthwhile in life. Of course, my business has been attacked viciously by our friends on the other side. They attack our Google ratings, and we're always trying to take them off. We have very, very good ratings, but they try to take us down. There's people, I'm sure, who don't come to our law firm because of my politics. But Avram, we can't afford for us all to go and stay in the basement. We can't afford to do that, brother. We just can't do it. Somebody's got to get up and say, you know what? We have to do this. Just like the soldiers who were going, into Gaza and Lebanon, somebody's got to do that. We can't all stay home. And yeah, it costs. So what? You know, we all still eat, and we still, and honestly, I don't really have expensive taste. You know,
I like.
I get along just fine with, with the simple things in life, and if I don't have the very last client, I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less.
Guidy, I think one of the things that's been very difficult for the people in the surrounding area in North York, Sheppard and Bathurst, it's the idea that we wake up every morning, in particular on the weekend, and Toronto's finest are out there, the police.
Yeah.
And I want to post a picture for a second.
Sure.
And show some of our guys out there, especially you mentioned before the Walk for Israel. There were a lot of guys and women in blue on their horses, all kinds of protections. We even saw drones above.
Oh yeah.
Now, despite the fact that it's very unnerving for the people of this area, because it's a very, very peaceful, simple area, if you will, the fact of the matter is the police force has, in my mind, has done an extraordinary job in terms of protecting us and letting the other, you know what, you can't mess around with these guys. I've seen so many people, including myself, actually, when they first set the mobile police truck out in front there in the parking lot. I said to my son, we're going to go over, we're going to get a fruit dish, and we're going to take it over to these guys, and they accepted it graciously. And I saw and I heard from many people they were doing the same. You must have a special feeling for our men in blue, for the Toronto Police Force, and how they've responded to the pro-Israel rally.
Whatever I say is going to be very controversial. Some people think the police are doing a horrible job. Why? Well, they let them do this, and they don't let us do anything, and they're so picky with us, and they don't care about them. There's some truth to that. Okay, I put up a couple flags on a pole. They made me take it down, right? While they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But that's fine. I believe that we're held as Jews. We are held to a higher standard. We always comply, regardless of whether we agree. We comply. This week, some clown from the other side came and took the north lawn on the plaza side, just minutes before we were going to put our big Israeli flag and our big Toronto Zionist Council flag on the lawn. I thought that was unreasonable, but I told the cop, if that's your decision, that's your decision. I'm not going to argue with you. So they make thousands and thousands of judgment calls over the period of 63 weeks. I disagree with some of them, but I'm going to tell you something. There is zero chance we would have made it to 63 weeks without the police presence there. And to be honest with your viewers and your listeners, if you were to ask me my honest opinion, I would say to you, they are giving us more protection than we need. More. Do you know how many officers come out, Avrum, on a regular Sunday now? Do you have any idea?
A dozen.
A dozen. The first time that the Palestinians showed up, we had 350 officers.
Oh, you're kidding.
Not kidding. Now you're saying, I didn't see 350 on Sheppard. Of course you didn't. There was about maybe 50 or 70 on that day. And if you look 2 streets to the west, all the way to Faywood, there are dozens of police vehicles, the big vans. You have just one vehicle for facial recognition, which is parked right out in front of us. It's a car with a big thing on top. It recognizes everybody that walks or drives by. Now we have roughly about 150 officers per week on scene, 50 in the immediate vicinity, and about another 50 or 60 to the south of us and to the north of us, just behind the plaza. And then you know where Magen David is? There's a little street there. You'll find about 7 or 8 vehicles on each of the 2 sides of the street there. And yeah, that's and of course there's the plainclothes officers all over the plaza.
Guidy, what would you say have been the greatest successes of these rallies? One of the things you mentioned were the beautiful blessings, the brachot, that you send out to Israeli families, people with chayalim, chayalot, soldiers in the army. What else?
You know, if I were to ask you, Avram, how many people have you seen every week for 63 weeks? Uh, Not your mother, not your father, not your brother, not your sister, not your cousin, not your best friend. We are a collection of misfits, people who really never belonged together. We would never have met each other. And now I am telling you, Avram, we are more than family. More than family. I come from a very tight Sephardic background.
Yes, you do.
I
Yes,
know
you
what
do.
family means, and oh, he's exaggerating. No, no, no. I don't see my cousins 63 weeks in a row. I don't get up in the morning at 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning to freeze my butt off for one of my cousins or one of my brothers or one of my sisters. I don't do that. And we've been doing this together for 63 weeks. What we know for sure is that long after this war is over, God willing, it should be today, and long after this rally winds up for the last time, we are still going to be together.
Mhm.
That group of people will never walk away from one another. We have such a bond. It's like cement. It's like cement now. There's no way I can describe it because I've never experienced anything like that in my life. And you know how much volunteer work I've done over the years, Avram. I've never felt that close to anybody. So that is the thing I'm going to remember forever.
It's interesting that you say that. Wayne Gretzky was asked upon his retirement what was the greatest thing about playing hockey. He said it was the dressing room. He
Yeah.
said the camaraderie was being with other people. Giddy, people have gone to war. There have been all kinds of things written about it in studies. They say it's the greatest time in their lives. And God
Most
forbid, I mean,
impactful. It's the most
it is.
impactful for
It
sure.
is because the camaraderie that you develop, the sense of trust that you developed in other people, there's very few other environments like that. So I understand what you're saying. Guidy Mamann, let me ask you a question about the end game here. Obviously, one measurement is that the end of the war will mean the end of the rallies.
Right.
What else? Like, how are you looking at the rally today in terms of tomorrow? How's it going to end?
I wish I could answer that. I really don't know, Avram. I really don't know. Our prayer is that all of our hostages are going to come home and we're going to have one crazy party at Bathurst and Sheppard. I mean, crazy. But I know the region and I know the mentality. I was born in an Arab country, in Morocco, and I know the mentality. I know how they think and how they operate. I'm close to that culture. My father spoke Arabic at home. I'm very close to that culture. I don't know. I hope and pray that the new administration in the United States is going to shake the tree so bad that those hostages are going to have to fall out of that tree or someone's going to pay dearly. But we don't know that. So we're under tremendous pressure from the police, by law enforcement, by people in the neighborhood, to shut this thing down. But I don't even know if I could shut it down if I tried. I mean, I could take my speakers and like they're not my speakers; they've been purchased by community dollars. I don't know if I could just sort of shut it down like that. So the answer is I don't know. That's the bottom line. God willing, somehow we'll get an inspiration. But we are talking about it. We are thinking about it, and we're feeling the pressure from everybody. The politicians. Some politicians are feeling the heat. We try to keep the noise level down as much as we can. But interestingly enough, some of the bylaw enforcement has made the noise louder, if you can believe that. And you say, well, how is that possible? Because about 7, 8 weeks back, before the Palestinians showed up, we had a couple of people come up to us and say, you know what, like, we really support you, we love you, but I work during the evenings and I sleep during the day and it's problematic. So what did we do? We pointed the speakers away from the buildings, right? And pointed it towards the plaza. But now bylaw enforcement told us, no, you can't put the speakers on the lawn. you have to put them on the plaza where it's private property. So we do that, but you can't face the speakers towards the parking lot. There's nobody there. So now we had to turn the speakers this way, and we try to keep the volume down. We bought a decibel reader, right? And it tells you the volume, and we've been told by bylaw what the decibel limit is, and we try to keep it below that. So you'll notice that our sound is actually
I have noticed.
Is lower because now we have a meter. But it's hard to do because we have to face it towards the buildings now. When we didn't want to do that, we had them facing the other way when they were right along the curb. So that's what we've been trying to do.
There's an old saying, necessity is the mother of invention. One of the things, we all have our own narrative in our head about what fascinates us about the Jewish people in Israel. One of the things that always comes to mind in my head when you mention this is when the Israelis were landing in Uganda to take back our people.
And Debbie.
In Entebbe, exactly.
Who's going to forget that?
Yeah, exactly. So they realized that when we land, there's a really good possibility that the towers are going to shut the lights, and there's no way we're going to be able to see the runway on our takeoff.
Right.
So the Israelis brought their own lights. and as the plane slowed, soldiers would jump off the plane and place them on the runway. And I
remember that, yeah.
It's a Yiddish cup. It's a Jewish mind, right? Now, Guidy, I've been playing around with artificial intelligence for a number of months now, asking it to basically write a poem for all of my guests. So we have an ode to Guidy Mamann right here for you. Want to hear it? Yeah, you want to hear it? It's from artificial intelligence.
Let's hear it, brother. Let's hear it.
In Toronto's heart, where voices rise on Bathurst and Sheppard, under open skies, a rally blooms steadfast and strong, where passion and purpose belong. Guidy Mamann, a beacon bright, guiding hearts through every fight. Since October 7th, shadows cast their spell. Guidy stands for truth, where courage dwells. With every Sunday gathering grand, he leads the charge, a steady hand, a co-coordinator, fierce and true, his spirit steadfast, ever new. The longest rally one to see for Israel's voice for liberty. Through every step, through every cheer, Guidy's strength and love appears. For freedom, for justice, for all to hear. His rally echoes far and near, a symbol strong of unity, a stand for peace. So here to Guidy, brave and bold, his story of courage will be told at Bathurst and Sheppard every single week. His mission unwavering, his voice unique.
That's terrific. Thanks,
what do you think of that, kid?
I'll tell you what I think, brother. I'll tell you. First of all, there's no way I could have done this without Esther. Esther McKinka, God bless her. She's a fireball. So that's number one. And if you think 2 or 3 people standing there at a rally can draw any attention to this cause by themselves, it isn't. The people who come out every single week make it a rally. It's not me who makes it a rally. It's only a rally when all these people come and show up, and you get this tremendous sense of pride when you drive by. So it's every single person who comes out, grabs a flag, and they're getting rained on, and the wind is killing us, and the blowing down the signs and all that. Those are the people who make the rally. It's not really me. I just put the pieces together. But without the support, without bodies on the ground, as they say, it's not a rally. So I love the poem, and I appreciate all the accolades and all that, but there's so much blood, sweat, and tears that go into this thing. For me to stand there by myself and to take on all this light and this attention is not really comfortable. We got great people, Avrum. We got great people there.
Getting conclusions in your eloquent way. Send out a blessing to the Jewish people. We're going to be okay?
I say at the rally, there's one thing for sure. I don't know when this war is going to be over, Avrum, but I'm going to tell you what I know. In 1,000 years from now, there's going to be a family sitting at a Shabbos table in Yerushalayim, making motzi and making kiddush. And we will be in this country for forever. We're not going anywhere. We have been around for 3,000 years. The Romans are gone. The Greeks are gone. The Spanish Inquisition is gone. The pogroms are gone. Mach Shemo, Hitler and the Nazis are gone, right? And here we are. We're going to not only survive, we're going to thrive. I believe that that is our future. And nothing can make me change my mind. That's the deal. So with or without you, we're going to stand together, right? Some of you may not buy into this unity thing and this maybe even this Israel thing. I don't know. But I know that Israel is the future of the Jewish people, that without Israel, history will repeat itself. And it ain't a great history that we have, Avram. We've seen it all, but we survived, and we will survive. And like I said, 1,000 years from now, Yerushalayim will be filled with Jews making motzi and making kiddush on a Shabbos table. I guarantee it.
Guidy Mamann, you give a great interview. You really do. I always enjoy it. You're very eloquent. You're very effusive, and you articulate your points extremely well. So with that, I want to thank you very much on behalf of all the ralliers, on behalf of your co-coordinators, and on behalf of the Jewish people of Toronto, Canada, and throughout the world. You did a terrific job in this interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Avram. I love your company. Ever since I met you, I've really enjoyed everything, and I admire so much of what you've done over the years.
Thank you.
And God bless you, and continue to do the amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you, Guidy. You too.
All right. Thanks for this opportunity.
Sunday morning, folks, at 11 o'clock. You can come a bit earlier if you like, and it runs to about 2. I've noticed lately that it's going a little bit past 2. So you got 2-3 hours out there.
They don't want to go home.
I know. Like it a lot.
Listen, I'll tell you, we start at 12 and we finish at 2, but you hear us at 11 o'clock because people are coming early. We're still setting up, and they're there with their flags and they're screaming. We can't come at 12.
Ladies and gentlemen, Yisrael Chai, the nation of Israel lives. Be proud to be a Jew. Proud to be a Jew. We're an incredible people, and we have courage and we have bravery. And I think Guidy's point is well taken. 1,000 years from now, you'll still be hearing from us, whatever the case.
Damn right.
Damn right. Exactly. Thanks a lot for listening, folks, and for watching. We've had this is an important show, and if you could spread it around, we'd appreciate it a lot. Until we see you again, as they say in Yiddish, sei gesund. Sei dos vidanya in Russian. What would they say in French? Like goodbye. How would you say it in French? In your house?
I don't know. I don't know. We just say, I don't speak French at home anymore.
Spanish?
I don't.
Nothing?
No, nothing comes to mind. Maybe if I had a microphone and I had some people surrounding me, I'd be more inspired.
I got you there. I knew I would.
Hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista, baby. Until we see you again, I'm Yisrael Chai. Take care.
I'm Yisrael Chai. I'm Yisrael Chai.